Men's basketball just released their schedule. What are the top 5 games you must mark on your calendar this season? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Candace Cooper here, Locked On ACC Podcast, with just a quick short video to remind y'all that the ACC men's basketball schedule has been released. For the fourth straight season, ACC play consists of a 20-game schedule for each program. Teams will play their 2 primary rivals, both home and away, 4 games total, and 4 repeat opponents, both home and away, as for a total of 8 games. The remaining 8 opponents will be single games with 4 at home and 4 on the road. The ACC posted a 14-5 record in 2022 for the NCAA tournament, the most wins and best winning percentage of any multi-bid conference, and has the highest, hear me out now, the highest all-time NCAA winning percentage of any league. Read that in my notes. You can read more at theacc.com. But there are 5 games that I think are going to be super important for you to mark on your calendars if you're a big ACC fan. Of course, you have your team that you support with your local experts, because we are your team every day here on Locked On ACC, Locked On Podcast Network. But I personally have 5 that I think are going to be critical for you to enjoy this year's men's basketball season. Number 5, Virginia Tech at Wake Forest, happening on New Year's Eve. Virginia Tech, the defending ACC champions, headed off to Wake Forest, Winston-Salem. Wake Forest is a team that right now, Coach Forbes has done everything to put them in a position to be successful. We know the Alondes William phase was really good as a transfer guy. He is able to bring in a few more people out of that transfer portal, and we know that essentially they're trying to stake their claim to be the ACC champions when it's all said and done. And Forbes has certainly been able to do that, especially now that he can have these guys that he can talk to, not use that whole COVID issue in terms of not having as much access to his players as he had in the past. Virginia Tech coming off a really good season and trying to repeat and make sure that everyone knows that ACC championship was not a fluke. So mark that one down in your calendar. Number 4, Louisville at Florida State on December 10th. Okay, Louisville at Florida State, to me, is a great game because, one, you have this Louisville team that has Kenny Payne, a new coaching regime. You got Nolan Smith from Duke coming in, and he's one of the best recruiters, arguably, in the country. So who he brings in matters. This Florida State team, who has made themselves a staple with Leonard Hamilton, and if nothing else, Leonard Hamilton's deep, we always know, runs really, really good. That bench will always be a true contender, as well as his star players. So I think it's very critical for these 2 programs who had less than stellar seasons last year to try and battle it out, to see where it all falls when all things are said and done. So that one. Number 3, North Carolina at Virginia on January 10th, which just happens to be my birthday. So, of course, I had to throw that one in the mix. But why it's important, revenge game for Virginia. They got whooped on by the Tar Heels. They're going up to Charlottesville. And you're saying to yourself, Virginia has all their returners. They got Kihei Clark back. It's going to be very important for Virginia to establish that, listen, last year was a little troublesome, a little worrisome, but be not afraid. Tony Bennett is here. He's here to stay, and his system is going to eventually work things out, all things for his good, maybe. Or could Hubert Davis's second year really be one where he establishes dominance and he says, I'm here to make sure you guys know Carolina is going nowhere with their returners. So it's the battle of the returners. Everyone wants a little love, right, and all that good stuff. So that's number 3. Number 2, Miami at Clemson on February 4th. Now, guys, listen. Miami, great team, made it to the Elite 8, had every opportunity to be a Final Four, even a potential national championship winning team last season, because when all things were working together for their good, they were hot sauce. Now they've had a couple key starters leave, but at the end, when it's all said and done, I think that Larrañaga does not get as much credit as he deserves in terms of how good he is as a head coach. And then you got then you have Clemson, who, listen, at the end of the day, Clemson will scare you. Clemson will stress you out. Clemson might upset you. So you got to do everything you can to make sure you put up a good fight. So Miami going into Clemson is certainly going to be a matchup you won't want to miss. But of course, my number one has to be the best battle of the land, the best battle that there is, Duke at North Carolina on March 4th. You got John Scheyer in year one. You got North Carolina with Hubert in year two. The pressure of the first one, of course, is going to be what it is. But this is the final game of the regular season for everybody. It'll probably come down to who is ultimately going to be the ACC champion, like we've normally seen it. Can Carolina win at Carolina? Can Duke go into Carolina's house under John Scheyer's leadership and pull out a win, right? You have different, recruiters and assistants on your bench, but can things be just as they were when it was Coach K's era? A lot of questions as we go into men's basketball season, but it's going to be fun. So make sure you tune into Locked On ACC podcast, because if nothing else, we have a great time. You might get mad at all the opinions from now and time again, but hey, we have fun. Men's basketball will be no different. The ACC tournament is a great joy. The kickoff will be right around the corner. We'll be locked on and locked into that one as well. So make sure you're following, download, and subscribe to the podcast from anywhere you listen to podcasts. And make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We're on the road to 1,000. We're going to get there soon enough. For Candace Cooper, this is Locked On ACC Podcast.